Hi guys, this is Ryan from the Backgammon 316 channel. Today I wanted to share with you guys a little something that's different from other videos that I've been posting. Today we had two Jehovah's Witnesses, two females, one younger, one older, come up to my door today, and they offered me a little calling card to invite me to a Bible study. So me being me, I got the chance to share the gospel with them. And as I was conversing with them, I realized that the main thing that they love to go to is their Bible in the New World Translation and quoting specific verses that would counter everything that I would talk about with them. But because I have somewhat of a background in dealing with the cults in the past and some light reading I've done on Jehovah's Witnesses, I was able to have a really good, fruitful conversation. Now, I didn't know everything. I can't really explain everything about the end times perfectly like everybody else can, like John MacArthur or John Piper. But at least I had a general understanding of what the Bible teaches about these specific passages. And it was because of some books that I've read in the past. And I wanted to share them with you. These are 3 books that I recommend that you use in witnessing to Jehovah's Witnesses, because they're now back on the street. They're not doing the letter writing anymore. They're now actually coming to your door. And even I got thrown off by it. So here's some books that I have for you that I recommend that would that you should take a look at that will help you understand how to share your faith with Jehovah's Witnesses. The first one is probably the most simple, but it's also the most informative one. Jehovah's Witnesses Answered Verse by Verse by David A. Reed. I read this one a long time ago. It's been a while since I've read it. But basically, David here is a former Jehovah's Witness who was a part of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society. And he became a Christian. And as the result of him becoming a Christian, he wrote this book so that he could help Christians understand specific Bible passages on that Jehovah's Witnesses will use to prove their theology. For example, imagine if I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I come up to you and I say, yep, Christ was the firstborn of all creation, Colossians 1:15. Therefore, he was the first one created. How would you answer that? See, that's the kind of stuff that you need to be prepared for. And David talks about that in this book and many other passages that you'll hear about. So it's a nice, short, 100-page book. I think there's a newer edition of this out. I could be wrong, but this is a great book by David A. Reed. And I really recommend, if you don't have time to read the bigger books that I'll recommend for the other 2 books here, at least get this one. This is a great book that everyone can learn a lot from. So yes, Jehovah's Witnesses Answered Verse by Verse by David A. Reed. The second one is probably my personal, I would say this is probably better, or it's just my favorite because it goes more in depth on what questions to ask. But Ron Rhodes' book, Reasoning from the Scriptures with Jehovah's Witnesses. This is the new edition. He had another edition in the past. He's updated it recently. And I think every Christian needs to have a copy of this book in their library, because not only does it teach you about their doctrine and cite the doctrine and give you references so you could go look it up yourself, but it gives you actual questions that you could ask your witness friends when they come to the door. So, for example, if they're going to quote Titus 2:13 in the King James, and in the King James, it says that Jesus is our great God and the Savior. How do you respond to that? How do you respond to their translation of John 1:1, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was a God? Or John 8:58, where the I am statement is taken out completely. This is a great book that'll teach you about those things, but also keep the questions in a way that don't come across as abusive or as condemning to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but helping to open their hearts and minds to see that the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society does not preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. I highly recommend this book. It is a bit of a read, but he even mentions in the book, you don't have to read it from cover to cover. Maybe you're talking about a Jehovah's Witness about who Michael the Archangel is. Well, guess what? He's got a whole chapter on it here. Just go ahead and go to the chapter and read it. Really great book. Again, Reasoning from the Scriptures with Jehovah's Witnesses by Ron Rhodes. I read this about 2 years ago, and it was an amazing tool and very helpful. And last but not least, Y'all probably knew this one was coming. Kingdom of the Cults by Walter Martin. I mean, what can be said about this book that hasn't already been said? A solid resource for understanding the cults in Christianity today. The first cult that's covered in the book is on Jehovah's Witnesses. And there's even a chapter on Christian Science, Mormonism, and a couple other cults that are out there in the world today. But this is a great resource for Jehovah's Witnesses because Martin goes into the history of the Watchtower, talking about things like the miracle wheat, talking about how C.T. Russell, Charles Taze Russell, was brought to court, and he was even challenged on his knowledge of Greek and Hebrew, when in reality, he didn't even understand it to begin with. Martin goes into the transcripts of that court case here in the book, and it's very, very enlightening. He talks about the false prophecies that were given by the Watchtower, where Jesus would come back in the early 1900s, Armageddon in 1975, how none of these things came to pass. This is a great book that I think, again, if it's affordable, every Christian should own because it's a general overview of most of the major cults here in America. So yeah, Kingdom of the Cults by Walter Martin. This is the new edition, by the way. It just came out a few years ago, the 6th edition, yeah. So it's not the Ravi Zacharias, the previous one. This is the more updated one. And it's a really good book. Hope you could take a look at that. So yeah, there are other books that are out there on Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm sure you may know of some, and if I'm forgetting any, leave them in the comment section so others can look those up as well. I would also recommend, which I don't have on me right now, Raymond Franz's book, Crises of Conscience. And he wrote a book on what happened inside the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society in the 1970s. He left the Watchtower and he wrote the book Crisis of Conscience, and explaining why he came out of Jehovah's Witnesses. And he wasn't the average Jehovah's Witness you meet on the street. He was up in the top tier there in Brooklyn, New York. So hope you guys will enjoy this video and have a good day. God bless.